Okay, fine.
Uh, that would happen with us. Welcome, 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 everyone, to another juicy, joyful, already joyful episode of Live Your Best Laugh. I have got one of my absolute faves here today, and I'm so excited because she's just like an all-round amazing human. My biz bestie, which is just such a delight and pleasure. Everyone needs a biz bestie when they're self-employed, that is for sure. Um, so yeah, I have been so excited. We have today the wonderful Beckie Shuttleworth. Yay! She is a well-being mentor and founder of the Shine Brightly method. And like that deserves like little kind of dancey jazz hands with it. Like I said, she is amazing. She literally is amazing. Her work comes from her heart and soul. Anyone that has the pleasure of working with Beckie, yeah, like you feel it. Her work is absolutely grounded in the simple belief that when people feel safe, seen, and supported, they are better able to learn, grow, and thrive. It sounds simple, doesn't it? Right? But it's not simplistic. That is oh so powerful and beautiful and amazing. So, I said I'd get my words wrong. And we're what, a couple of minutes in. So, Becky, it's great to have you here, my love. Would you like to
Thank
say hello
you.
to everyone listening? And yeah, anything you would like to share about yourself, my darling?
Hello, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here with you. I've got my nice cozy cup of tea and I'm ready to kind of sit down and have a good chat. Yeah, this has been a bit of a long time coming. I'm so happy to be doing something like this. I haven't done much of this kind of stuff for a while because, as you know, I've been kind of a bit out of my business for a bit, having my little boy and stepping into motherhood and all of that. And I've been easing my way back in, and this feels like a kind of quite a big step back in. And yeah, I've just been working my way back into my business over the last year, I suppose, and doing lots of really exciting stuff and kind of thinking about how best it all works with what life looks like now, and obviously joy is a big part of that, and I guess like centering joy around centering joy in our lives, looking at what it is that we want from our lives, how we want to set up our lives as a family. Now we've got this little boy, and both me and my partner are both self-employed, so there's been a lot kind of to think about there about how it all gets to work for us. So yeah, just really excited to be here and to be talking about the work that I do and the way that joy shows up for me.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And we've been connected now for, I was just thinking as you were sharing, it's probably about 5 years, isn't it? Is it
Yeah,
2021?
it's probably yeah,
Something
just
like
over
that.
actually, I would
Yeah.
imagine.
Yeah, it could have been before that.
I
Yeah.
think it was maybe right at the end of 2020 that we
Wow.
first
Oh my
connected.
gosh. Yeah. And I like your, because we met online and
Yeah,
then we connected and met each other in real life, didn't we? And I just love that way that like we can be brought together in these spaces, right? And then you see people in their like flesh, in their realness, and they're just as I thought they would be. Like we were instantly kind of
yeah.
drawn to each other in the space. And I
And
think
yeah,
the
I,
work,
I want to say something about that really quickly that
okay.
I think we'd met once in real life when we then went and spent 5 days together at Secret Garden Party.
Oh yeah.
I think that's how it happened. We met once in real life, and then we were
Was
like,
it
right,
only
okay, we can
once
do five
before
days at the
then?
festival. No problem.
Yeah, gosh. And that was many, many
Uh,
hundreds of miles we did that weekend,
yeah,
didn't
and that's a big commitment, you know?
was a big commitment. Yeah. Oh my gosh. But like our work has a lot of synergy, hasn't it? You know, and
Yeah,
actually, we're like, when you kind of like unpick us, like we're both like from a primary school background, you know, both been in teaching and then both now doing wellness businesses, mine focused with adults, yours with children, but similar ethoses and values and all the things. So like it doesn't surprise me that we kind of found each other and felt that like that energy and like we have had many moments of joy since we
yeah,
connected, haven't we?
yeah. So many, so many. Well, I mean, yeah, I'm just thinking through all the festivals over the last few years. Um, that first one being that Secret Garden Party, which was only 2.5 years ago. But
Yeah.
then there was a lot of festivals over that summer, and
Yeah.
then even more the next year, and even more, and like the heavily pregnant festival summer, the 1 year old baby festival summer. So I've been your wing woman, taking lots of photos and being involved in your laughter yoga sessions at a lot of festivals since then, and we've obviously met up to see each other lots of times
Yeah.
without festivals happening around us. And there's
Oh,
been so much joy in all of those experiences, and a lot of
absolutely.
laughter,
And as I
both
say,
organized and spontaneous.
yeah, and we would dive into that for sure. And as I say, everyone needs a biz bestie. But I love that we both like created our paths from what we previously were to
Mm.
do something that feels much more in alignment,
Oh,
right? So
absolutely.
now the
Yeah,
work you do, um, yeah, you're still working with children, families, etc.
yeah.
But it's in a completely different way to how you were working before, right?
Yeah, yeah. So I first started working with children in the late 90s. And I, without a doubt, would say that every single thing I've done along the way has led me to this point. The work that I'm doing now is a culmination of all the work that I've ever done. And that's so beautiful for me. Like when I was really young, and I was a student in a nursery, and then I was studying education at university, and then I was a teacher, and I went on and did different things after teaching, and it's all kind of every single one of those parts has contributed to the way that I work now, and
Mm,
the way that I hold the space with the children, the way that I can sit down in front of a group of children, and a lot of the time that when I work with children, and I do some work with adults as well, but when I sit down with a group of children around me, like with our yoga mats in a circle or however it is, I feel like this is where I'm supposed to be.
yeah,
This is what I'm supposed to be doing, and this is where I'm supposed to be, and everything that's come before has led to this point.
yeah,
And that just, and like you were saying about alignment, like I'm not in alignment with the education system. I know that. I
mm,
know that. I do still work within schools, but on my own terms in a way. Like, like
yeah,
I couldn't go back to classroom teaching more, and I wouldn't want to. And the work that I do in schools is when the school is open to me bringing what I do to them,
yeah,
rather than them wanting something different from me. So
yeah,
and that the school that I currently work in on a regular basis, where I deliver wellbeing sessions for teenagers who have been excluded from other schools, that school wants what I do, what I deliver for those pupils. They want me to be there to build that connection, to show them compassion, to, all of those sorts of things that are like deep rooted in the work that I do. That's what they're looking for
yeah,
those kids.
yeah,
Um, so yeah, yeah, I
yeah.
agree with what you're saying.
Oh, yeah, and but it's so important, right? Isn't it? That we and it's not easy, okay? I was going to say as much as possible, that we are led by that inner compass, that thing of like what feels a good fit. And like I say, I'm caveating that with it's not always easy, right? Because, like maybe we need to rely on a source of income from here, or maybe we're
Mhm.
like not sure how to change the thing or whatever. But I think when you can get to that place where you know what is guiding you and what feels good, and like you say, you do the things
Yeah,
on your terms. Like there's a big kind of shift within, isn't there,
yeah,
of like what you're going to do and how you're going to show up and what you're going to say no to and what you're going to say
yeah,
yes to, right?
absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, and that whole journey is so interesting. From and that vulnerability of being self-employed um, is something that is quite shocking at first when you're used to having a monthly wage and
Mhm.
then that's gone and you have
Sure
your kind
is.
of you're out there on your own.
Yeah,
And and I think a lot of people with small businesses go through the accept everything, take everything, say yes to everything phase, because suddenly I had this experience a few years ago where work suddenly started coming my way. And I was like, yes, 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 I'll do all of these things. And then I was like, oh my gosh, like, what have I done to my schedule? Like, this is mad. And then I
yeah,
had to start pruning a little bit and being like, okay, that doesn't really fit for me. That doesn't fit for me. Where do I make money that feels good? But where do I also deliver what feels really good, and finding that pathway through that inner small business is is really really a challenge sometimes.
yeah,
um,
yeah.
and at the same time, like for me, just coming back from maternity leave, I wasn't, because I while I was pregnant, I had to think about how this business going to work for me when
Mm,
I have this baby. um, and the way that I was working wouldn't have worked because I was doing so many small pieces of work in different places. And while that was possible then, like I have to be really discerning now about the work that I take.
mm,
And then there was the fear of like, is there going to be any work for me when I'm ready to start working again? Like, does my business still exist?
yeah, yeah,
Like,
yeah,
um, and thankfully, like, things are going really well in that sense. And I'm able to do a lot of things that are bringing me a lot of joy, and a lot of things have kind of come my way that feel really good, um,
yeah,
and
yeah,
fit in with the life that we're building. So yeah, really
yeah.
grateful for that. Really
Oh,
grateful.
yeah, I love that. And I think this is what we have to be really careful about as solo business owners,
Mm,
is really managing ourself, our energy, our time, because something that we essentially start to bring us joy and to,
yeah.
potentially bring joy to others, etc. You've got to like sense check along the way and see that is what I'm doing still on that path of what I want to be receiving from it. So, like you say, being like super discerning about what you're going to accept and what doesn't feel like a good fit. So, I think this is why really tuning into our own needs,
Mhm.
and with that thinking about joy, thinking about peace, thinking about love, thinking about like all these different beautiful high vibrational energies, which I think we just don't give enough airtime, right? I think
Mhm.
we
Mhm.
we often give more airtime to maybe the stuff that feels stickier, right?
Yeah.
Because it feels heavy. But actually, like it's really powerful for us to sit and go, like what is joy to me? And what like how do I get to feel joyful? And I reckon if you did a straw poll across the population and ask them, when did you last ask yourself that? Most people, don't you think, would just be like, oh, I don't even think about it, yeah, I
Yeah.
really, this is a key part of kind of what I do, like let's
Mhm.
start asking ourselves, what feeling joyful really is, like I'd love you to
Yeah,
share
so I
your
think
your
there's a
insights
few.
and like and what it means to you, but also like what
Yeah.
you think around that conversation.
Well, there's a few things I want to respond there straight away. The first thing I want to say is that a lot of what we've just said is exactly why having a biz bestie is so important.
Yeah,
Because a lot of that back and forth chat, a lot of that like sense checking things, all of that kind of stuff, being able to bounce those things off each other is like, you can't put a monetary value on that.
yeah,
Like that is so important when we are on our own out here.
yeah,
So that's the first thing, is that yes, our relationship on that level is so important, I think, for both of us when we're thinking about opportunities and what should our next step be, and those sorts of things. With regard to like the thoughts around joy, um, in my situation, I've had lots of thoughts over the last few months of, oh, that's a nice venue. Should I try and set up a class there? Oh, I've got a few contacts who are asking about something over here. Should I try and set something like, as I'm easing back in, all of a sudden things going ping, ping, ping. Should I try this? Should I do that? Should I do that? I've got loads of ideas about things that I could get going. And then I'm like, actually, where are my priorities? And one
yeah,
of my priorities obviously is around joy, and is around, and where do I get so much of my joy apart from my business currently, is from my little boy, right?
yeah,
And my priority is to spend as much time with him as I possibly can,
mhm,
whilst also maintaining my business and taking on the joyful opportunities there. So that balance for me is, yes, I could set up another class for kids in this place, or I could be out of the house at this time on this day, and arrange, I could have sent him to nursery by now,
yeah,
but I'm not doing those things, because for me, so much of my joy comes from sitting in the sandpit, even in January,
yeah,
and just being there with him, because I know that these years are short, and
yeah,
even though it's cold and wet and rainy, if that's where we are, like that's a joyful space for me. So for me, maintaining the balance of, yes, I want my business to thrive, but my family life is incredibly important to me, especially in these early years. So that's one thing, and then around thinking about how often other people think about joy. I think, like you say, I think a lot of people never even crosses their mind, and I think that's for lots of reasons. For some people, it's like they're so focused on their work life, um, or there's also a point to be made that it's quite a privilege to have the space and time to think about joy. Um, we're in a really privileged position for that to be an aspect of our lives that we get to consider.
mm,
Um, that's not to say that people in difficult circumstances wouldn't be able to prioritize some part levels of joy, aspects of joy. Um, but it's that that hierarchy of need, that Maslow's
yeah,
hierarchy of
yeah,
need, where
yeah,
the bottom things are like food and shelter and clothing, and
yeah,
then like your next level of things gets met, and your next level of things, so it depends where you are as to how many of your basics are covered, and how much
yeah,
capacity do you have to think about your emotional well-being. So I think we say it from quite a place of privilege that we get to think about what makes us joyful.
yeah,
However, once your basics are met, um, it would probably be very helpful for people to consider joy sooner than they do,
yeah,
because it's just
yeah.
not much, not part of our culture very as much. um
Yeah,
so yeah,
yeah. I fully
my
agree.
initial thought.
Like if you're living in exceptional circumstances which are proving like huge challenges, then like joy will be a million miles away for sure. But if you are in a situation where your basic needs are met, and like your life is pretty okay around you. I think there is such value in deciding to build a relationship with joy. And I think
Absolutely.
that's the thing. It's a decision. And I think it's easy for us to decide that actually, or like it just comes to us when it comes to us. So then, like, we aren't being we're not being active with it. We're not being
In creators
proactive.
of our own
Yeah,
joy.
we're
And the
just,
noticers, like
yeah,
it's not necessarily even about creating specific circumstances, but it's about noticing, isn't it? It's almost like a mindful practice in a way
totally.
to
Yeah,
to note. Like, okay, so as an example, the 21 days of laughter that you recently did, the
yeah.
series that you recently did, I forgot. Oh my God, my brain's gone. The word for doing a thing like that.
I'm in the
Who
same
knows?
space, darling.
So anyway, you had this thing where you I can't think of the word, where you invited people to join you for 21 days of laughter, and it was a wonderful thing that I didn't find as much time for as I'd hoped I would, right? And part of that was because of my kind of being at capacity in lots of areas of my life, but part of it was also my lack of interaction on social media recently, which we'll probably talk about again in a little bit. But for me, the biggest takeaway I got out of that was to be way more aware of the joy that already exists in my life, and
Yeah,
to, like, now I'm like, whenever I'm like laughing heartily, I'm noticing that I'm laughing,
right.
no, and that kind of amplifies it somehow
Mm,
and makes it like even more wonderful. And so that, I think it that the being mindful of when joy enters your life, or when there is time, like, as joy, it doesn't need to be like huge big joyful experiences, like, it doesn't have to be Friday night at Secret Garden Party.
yeah, yeah,
It
yeah,
doesn't have to be, it can be like the smallest little moment of joy. But if you notice it and go, I'm acknowledging you,
yeah,
then it kind of spreads within you, doesn't it? It becomes
yeah.
bigger inside you.
Yeah, this is exactly the shift, and I think part of the reason that we don't have conversations about it particularly is because it's almost like pedestal to it's this big
Mm.
experience, and it's like, yeah, it can be, right? It can be that,
Yeah,
like that, you can go to an amazing event and it can be like, yeah, joy, 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 but like joy is from the tiniest thing to the hugest thing, and everything in between. So I think it's the simplicity of, like, as you walk down the street, what are you not looking at? What are you not to see, like a little old lady smile as she walks past, right? And you're sending each other some joy,
yeah,
like to look at tiny little buds on trees as like spring is starting to spring, to look up
yeah.
and see a cloud drifting by. Like, I get really excited about clouds, so that's always a big
Yeah.
love for me. Do you know what I mean? But
This is, it's so interesting that you're saying this, because I was literally thinking this yesterday walking down the street, because I knew I was coming onto this podcast, and I was thinking about it more, and I was thinking about the seasons, and obviously, like this, well, not obviously, I love this time of year, and I think I've
right,
finally decided, actually, I think spring's my favorite. I think
right,
spring is my I used to be like summer, summer, summer all day long. And now I'm like, I think spring's my favorite. In saying that, I had an amazing autumn last year. I loved autumn last year. Autumn seemed to go on and on and on. It was so beautiful. But what I've realized in the last few years, and even more so since I've been slowed down in the outdoors, spending so much time outside with my little boy, is that I think I went through a period of, like, I don't think I was even aware of the seasons for like a good 10, 15 years. I don't
right.
think I was even noticing I had no eyes for the beauty of nature whatsoever. Um, And maybe that shift first started happening when I first went away traveling when I was like 31 or something. And I first went off on a proper adventure across the world by myself for months and months at a time. And I slowed down for the first time and really looked at what was around me. But now, every single change in the season is so noticeable to me,
Mm,
and the the joy of springtime is like, also another, I guess, slightly privileged position to be in is the road behind our road is lined with blossom trees, and
mm,
it's just incredible. It's just so beautiful, like just noticing, like, and there's loads of magnolia around here as well. Like there's loads of things that suddenly come to life around this time of
yeah.
year, and like the joy of noticing, and like just a bit of blue sky, like you say, some beautiful fluffy white clouds and a bit of blue sky. That's all I need.
Yeah.
I don't need 35-degree heat. I don't
Yeah.
need that. I'm happy with, 17, 18, 20 and a bit of
Well,
blue sky.
and I think it's, because like anyone UK based, like myself and Becky, we're both UK based, and like, I say this a lot to the women that I coach. It's like we need to get comfy with everything that's going on if we live in the UK or anywhere where you're going to get seasons or like lots of rain and cold and grey and whatever, and not rely on something to pick you up, right? It's great to have it as a, like a joy hit and a joy seeking thing. But this is where like joy and wiring yourself into it is then on the grey
Mm,
days, the bleak days, or whatever days, it's like what's going to make me smile on that day, And again, it's just
yeah.
finding.
Can't rely on the weather around here for that.
No, totally not, I was
It's
talking
great when it comes along, but you can't rely on it.
well, and I was in a space I was coaching a few weeks ago, and someone was saying how she was just feeling really kind of like, oh, not in her body, and she said, oh, I just haven't moved as much this week because of the weather. And I was like, do you know what? Like if we let our kind of energy and our like how like ourselves we feel and our joy levels and our all like our inner peace and all the things which are really helpful for us to feel more regulated. If we base that on what's going on with the weather, then we're pretty screwed in this country. And I was like,
Yeah,
just put wellies on and put a coat on, and because you will find like Mother Nature, what you're describing there, like the beauty of Mother Nature in spring and then like autumn, like she delivers in every single season. It's just we need to
absolutely.
wire ourselves for what is being delivered. And this is when
Absolutely.
that thing of like joy is simple. Like she's huge, right? And it's not simplistic, like I was saying, like you're open like what you're sharing, like fuck, it sounds simple, but it's not simplistic, right? It's amazing, it's magnificent. And it's seeing that actually, like putting your hands around a hot, I mean, this isn't hot now, right? So, but I'm holding this and I'm like, okay, it's cold. It's cold, so it's activating something else, but like, but feeling. I think it's that thing, like allowing ourselves to feel. So the more we allow ourselves to feel in these moments, the more like we'll just be hardwired to joy givers,
Yeah, yeah,
right?
absolutely. And I think another aspect to do with nature that is has been really important for me over the last few years is for me to finally start not only just noticing what's happening in nature and in the seasons, but also allowing myself to be guided by it, and not trying to be going at 100% all year round. And when it's
Mm,
when the seasons start to change, when it starts to get colder and darker again, when days start to get shorter, to flow with that and not push against winter. I think that has been a really big lesson for me in the last few years, is to stop trying to push back against winter and go, actually, like, I am allowed to also slow down, get cozy, take
yeah,
things a little slower, um, just to be a bit more aligned with what's going on in nature as well. And I think that's been like that alignment allows me to feel. more comfortable, more relaxed, therefore more
Mm,
joyful. You know,
yeah,
if we're not trying to push against something all the time, if we're allowing ourselves to get into the same rhythm,
yeah,
that
yeah.
can that really helps for me.
Yeah, yeah, and we were in such a kind of like push energy
Mm.
society now, aren't we? So I think that
I know.
permission in ourselves, do you know what I mean? It's like it's so necessary, isn't it? Like I'd love to know, like when you think about joy givers, like I imagine you've got like a huge list, right? Like what's your go-to for joy givers?
Okay, there's so many different types,
Yeah,
so many different types of things. It's not all the same, you know. Like,
yeah,
okay, so you have to understand, obviously, I'm still quite a new mum. I haven't yet been a mum for 2 years. So I'm very much wrapped up in my little boy's laugh, my little boy's smile, my little boy's
yeah.
saying a new word, doing a new thing. You know, he's hilarious. He's really funny. So anything to do with him will always like you know, he could have me up half the night, and when he wakes up in the morning and goes, Mama, like I'm like, joy, you know. So those things are, you know, that is a given. That is without a doubt, you know. At the same time, if we've had a really long day, just me and him, and his dad gets home, and my joy is then like, here you go, handing over. I'm going to go and cook dinner, and I'm going to go and listen to a podcast and just cook an unrushed
Yeah,
meal, and that brings me a lot of joy too, you
yeah.
know. And recently, so I have a really strict routine with myself where I go to the gym every Wednesday and every Friday at about 6:30 in the morning. Yesterday morning I stepped out of the front door and it wasn't dark, and I was like,
Yeah,
and I walked down the street like, oh my god, this is great.
yeah,
And like even like pushing my body quite hard at the gym feels joyful to me, because and that have creating the time for myself to go and do that. And even though I wake up and it's like 6 o'clock and I'm like, oh my god, I've been up 3 times in the night feeding baby, but you know, um being consistent and true to the things that I want to achieve for myself brings me joy. So
mm,
like getting going to the gym and knowing that I have been consistent with my commitment to how I want to live my life, that brings me joy.
mm,
um what else brings me joy? Snuggling up on the sofa once the boy's gone to bed with a nice cup of tea and an episode of something. I might get one episode in of something in an evening these
mm,
days. That brings me joy. You know, really little things. Meeting up with new friends. I've made so many new friends since I've had my little boy. I've
mm,
made so many new friends with similar age kids that we've now known each other since the babies were small.
mm,
You know, I get to do things like go to Kew Gardens on a weekday. That
mm,
brings me so much joy. Getting lovely feedback from the kids that I work with. I gave some feedback forms out yesterday, and my God, some of the things that the kids and the parents said back were just,
yeah,
they were beautiful. You know,
yeah,
they brought me a lot. That brought me a lot of joy.
yeah,
Yeah, generally just things that are kind of within my normal life, like not stuff that I have to really. I guess I have created a life that brings me a lot of joy, and I don't
mm,
have to go far out of like some really mundane stuff like cooking dinner brings me joy, you know, because
yeah.
I enjoy cooking, you know, when it's not like rushed and, you know, yeah,
But you know,
those,
and so much of this, it like it speaks to being in the energy of gratitude, right? Doesn't it?
yeah,
That's the thing, you know,
yeah,
and as we know, joy and gratitude, like they're,
yeah,
you know, like you have one and then it builds the other and then you build that and then it builds the other and then it just kind of keeps on increasing. So I think when we're looking at these little pockets everywhere, you know, then we're feeling into the energy of appreciating what we have and like this moment, these people, these like things
Yeah.
happening around us, these choices, decisions, these, like all those different things that you explained. It's the energy of like deep love and appreciation, isn't it? When we're
Yeah,
in
you're absolutely right.
oxygen.
Thinking about that for a moment longer, none of these things are necessarily like they've all been created on purpose, So like,
Yeah,
so there was no guarantee that we were going to get our little boy, but we did. You
yeah,
know, there was no like this is the best I've felt physically in terms of taking care of myself by the food that I'm eating and the way that I'm moving my body. This is the best I've felt for years, right?
right.
Potentially
Wow.
ever. I don't know if I've ever had the combination of feeling good in my body and feeling good in my mind at the same time
Yeah.
before.
Yeah.
And those two things together, like feeling strong and healthy has been elusive to me for a good few years.
Mm,
Um, so having that again feel like I've created that on purpose.
mm,
Um, so small things that seem like things that could have just happened, that when I think when you create something on purpose in your life and you can look at it and go, yeah, that's how I wanted it to be. That's what I wanted. This is what I was asking for. Um, that, like you say, that gratitude and joy thing together. When you work hard to put something out there and families sign up to it and come regularly and give you nice feedback and sign up for the next term, and
mm.
that feels good, doesn't it? That brings
Yeah.
joy.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. And I think all of this, what all of this really speaks to as well is when we have created um almost like it's the rituals, it's the practices, it's the like that decision, that like the choosing of joy. It doesn't like take away obviously the shitty things that can and will happen, because that is just life, isn't it?
and
I
have
think,
happened as well, the
yeah,
things that
yeah,
are behind us
exactly.
as
Yeah.
well,
Yeah.
like I think that's another element, is that when the life that I've created now looks very different to the place that I was in a lot of years ago, but also quite recently as well. Like, as I had some pretty rough times in the last 5 years.
Yeah.
Um, and those most recent setbacks were pretty intense. Um, those things that happened in that time were really, really hard. And being so grateful to be in the position that we are now, um, you can look at those things and go, that's been really, really hard times, but look what we've been able to build.
Yeah. Yeah.
Doesn't make
Yeah. Yeah.
losing your best friend any easier, but
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah. And
go
unfortunately, like life is going to deliver stuff which is way beyond our control, isn't it? And so having these tools and this kind of way of being when stuff happens, we can just hold ourselves that bit. I don't even know if the word easier is appropriate, but do you know what I mean? It's like we have more of an ability to hold ourselves through like the really difficult, challenging times that life can deliver, And I think also then things that have happened, we can try and hold that in a slightly different way. Do you see what I mean? It's like I
on.
just really believe that through us noticing all the good and but like so really noticing, not just like, oh, that that's lovely. And I think your prime example, like you're saying with your little boy, as you say, I can feel that energy. I remember that with my kids, and then kids I've taught, like they are such great feeders to us.
Yeah,
aren't they?
yeah, 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 yeah,
Like they are, like they're the teachers with
yeah,
joy and
yeah, yeah.
self-acceptance and self-love and self-belief and
Self-expression.
yeah, like all the things that adults get to adulthood and they go, shit.
I forgot how to do that.
Yeah, I forgot,
Yeah.
that they started like where your little boy is now, just in that, like, just am I gonna dance
So
through the leaves?
joyful.
I'm gonna dance through the leaves. I'm gonna do what the hell I like with them because I can, and I just think it's like it's such a you see it all the time actually, like that like the kids are just like nailing life, you know. And I think as much as possible, like, and there's people around you that like are learning that energy or in that energy. So it's like be around energies where people can show you perhaps another way of looking at things. And like I say, I always cite kids as like, well, that like they are the ones to really look at, but there will be people around as well if
But
you haven't.
also in the same way, like the kids that I work with, for example, like my group, my Wednesday group of kids is they're between year one and year three. And
Right.
and I think for those kids, they're already experiencing a lot of weight of the world.
Yeah.
Like
That's
it's
hard, isn't
really
it?
that
Yeah.
unbridled joy is like it's not, they're already seeing things in a different light. And this is where it gets interesting for me because there is that beauty in that freedom of self-expression, that freedom of joy, that freedom of all the stuff we talked about with toddlers and with really really young children.
Yeah.
And then the 6, 7, 8 year olds, like I always say, like how different life might have been had I had the tools that I learned in my 30s, when I sit there teaching like breathing exercises and connecting to our breath and being aware of our breath, or moving in mindful ways, or be learning how to ground our energy, and things like that. I'm working with young kids doing that, and I'm thinking, wow, like what impact is this going to have for them to have these tools so young,
Yeah.
because like for me there was a huge gap between my joyful toddlerdom and learning those sorts of tools in mid adulthood, and I
Yeah.
think that's the same for a lot of us, and the impact that we can have by starting our little ones on that path early, so that they're more intuitive, they're more in tune with how they're feeling, they're more able to be comfortable with all their different range of emotions. They've got tools that show them how they can increase their joy, how they can ground their energy, how they can feel regulated. All of those things is that's got to be really powerful, hasn't it?
Oh my gosh, yeah. And like yeah, I cite kind of like looking at kids, but like you say, we need to like think like little kids because as you and I both know, having been in the education system, there will be like a chunk that are still in that, like in those first few years, and then there'll be a chunk that don't feel like that, and then actually, then a lot of them transition into, oh, I'm going to start doubting myself. I'm
Yeah.
going to start thinking that I'm stupid or I'm not enough, and it's really freaking sad, isn't it? And like God, it's a whole podcast on changing the education system, isn't it? Really?
There's more than a podcast.
Well, yeah, yeah, well, yeah, like
More than a podcast worth.
an
Don't
endless
get me
pod.
started on that
Yeah,
now.
yeah, yeah. We could be here too long, but God, if we like, and this is the thing, you're teaching children tools that I'm teaching adults.
Yeah,
And it's
yeah, yeah, yeah,
because,
exactly.
and you've said to me in the nicest way, it wouldn't be great if if we could write me out of a job, right? Because eventually,
Yeah, yeah,
because the
yeah, yeah.
kids,
Big ambition.
it's a big, well, why not, right? Why not?
Long term
Yeah.
solution.
But it's because they haven't had the tools. I didn't learn the tools till I was way older. Most people don't learn these tools, and then that's why becoming like traveling through primary and then going into secondary school and becoming a teenager and a younger adult. And God, it's fucking nuts, isn't it? And that's
Yeah, it's
why it
tough.
can feel,
It's tough.
yeah,
The
yeah,
world's a tough place for us, you know. Like emotionally, the world is a tough place for us. And actually, I think it's really important to notice as well that, like, we talk about these tools, like we all have these special tools that other people don't have, and you know. And I think what's really important to notice as well is that there isn't like three specific things that we know that other people don't. Like, you know, the tools that we talk of are could be different for different people. You know, like different people like different types of things that help them. Um, and it's not necessarily about having a specific breathing practice that works for you, or you know, it's they're kind of it's a wider, it's very hard to explain, it's a wider way of looking at things maybe
yeah.
that's the most valuable, and finding out what works for you personally, what you enjoy the most, because and this is why with the young people I work with, we do movement, we do breathing, we have guided conversations, we do visualizations, we do energy balancing practices, we do all sorts of different areas, because some kids really love tapping, and some kids really love breathing, and some kids really need to move a lot, you know. So it just is it's very much dependent on what individually we connect with the most.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, and I always, when I talk about things that are going to support people for emotional well-being and, just feeling more like themselves, it's like it's got to be U-shaped. It's not what
Yeah, exactly.
someone's saying, oh, you need to be
Exactly.
up at this time, you need to do all these different. It's like, no, bull freaking shit. It's like it actually just needs to feel like you. And like with the adults I work with, I um. I find a lot of them resonate with me, saying to them, like what you're doing is you're going in and you're remembering, because I think there's a quite an unhelpful narrative that goes around of like, you know, someone isn't feeling enough, so they need to be this other version, this better version. I'm like, how does that ever help anyone that's not feeling great with their self-esteem and their self?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It just, like that
You need to be
never.
different. You need to be a
Yeah,
better version of you.
it goes back to that like school time, where people probably, that is that, that's not good enough, like that's where so many people get the narrative of like something they've done just wasn't good enough. So they wear not being good enough. And I'm like, do you know what? It's not, we're not finding this other persona. Like you're already here. What we've got to do is it's like just get in there, and it's the remembering. Do you know what I mean? Because harking back to,
Uncovering that joyful toddler.
well, I was going to say, harking back to like, a little 2-year-old who jumps in a puddle and just thinks they're amazing and would say that they're amazing and not want to throw up and bum clench around it.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
think the biggest gift we can probably give ourselves is that we're already here as,
Yes.
like
Yes,
as that
absolutely.
already here and with, like loving kindness, compassion, and all the things like we can kind of rediscover that person. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I love that.
Because
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah, that way, like we are meeting ourselves where we're
It's
at.
all that idea, but it's that what we have, what we need is already within us, isn't it? It's not out
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, yeah. And I think the most powerful thing is to know that actually the resources, essentially everything, the ingredients, everything is in here. And
Mhm.
it's not about like like this external force, coming back to that internal, do you know what I mean? Like, yeah, your inner power. Yeah. We could really geek off about this and go on and on and on, I know.
Yes, yes.
But I'm conscious that we are probably getting towards the end of our time, my lovely. I would love to do some laughter breaths with you. Are you up for some, my love?
Of course.
Yay! For those listening, I love to share laughter breaths because as Becky and I were sharing, like there's loads of different things that we can relate to that will help our bodies feel good, right? And help our minds feel a bit calmer and all the things. And like Becky was saying, you know, some of the kids she works with, some might want to run around and others like to tap. And but anything where we can kind of be less in our headspace and more in our body, it's just always going to help us, right? So laughter is just such a brilliant way for us to just get a really quick energetic shift, and help us just feel maybe like, you know, like just that little bit more resourceful. And if we feel that little bit more resourceful through this, then maybe something else will help resource us. And this is how we kind of like bring ourselves back into, you know, things are feeling more balanced and at ease. So laughter breaths, all we're going to do is we're going to take a breath in through our noses and then we'll breathe out with laughter. Those listening, I'd love you to join in too. It's such a fun exercise. We feed off our energy by giving out our laughter, but we also will feed off each other's. So like it's a really like amplified practice. So Becky, are you ready, my darling? Yeah.
Yeah.
See, look, I've wired it in that I just start laughing when I think about it. Okay, so we're going to take a breath in and then breathing out with laughter.
I started already.
We're gonna do three total. So let's go again. Breathe in and exhaling. Let's do one more, no more. Pick one that's what we like. Take a breath in and big belly laugh.
Oh, my face is really hurting. Does that mean I haven't laughed enough recently?
Oh, no, it's a reminder, right? So when we're laughing like that, typically we laugh like much more conservatively and politely than we really want to, you know, because like we measure ourselves and we wonder whether it's too much or, you know, the right length and all the things. So I think when we go for it like that, all these muscles here, you know, we know what it's like to have a big cheesy grin and for something to make us feel really good.
Yeah.
So they just really activate, you know? Like, I'd love to know, like, how are you feeling having done that?
Good. Yeah, good. Do you know what happened as well? Right at the end, I had a yawn come. And
Yes.
that's really interesting because that's like that shows that energy has just like shifted in my
Yeah.
body. Like,
Yeah.
doesn't mean I'm tired, doesn't mean I'm bored. I always
No.
say to the kids that I'm working with that they mustn't be embarrassed about yawns,
Yeah.
because yawns just show that the energy is shifting because they always like try to stifle it. And I say, I'm never going to be
Yeah.
offended if you yawn in my
Yeah.
session. For me, it's a sign that something's working for you. So yeah, that just happened for me here. So thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah. Oh, you're so welcome. And like yawns, much like laughter, we can like censor, you
Try
know?
to stifle all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we feel we might offend someone, or
Yeah.
like we've been told many times that we are offending people when we yawn. So
I absolutely, there's a narrative around yawning being rude, isn't there? Absolutely, you know. So I think
yeah,
this is why
absolutely, yeah, yeah,
people will feel, you know, not comfortable to just be, right? So yeah, I love that you share that with the kids because that's such an important thing for them to take forward, isn't it? You know? So
yeah,
oh,
yeah,
amazing.
absolutely.
Oh, Becky, my darling, we could like literally chat for the rest of the day, but I'm
Yeah,
conscious of your time. It has been, oh, like heart-fillingly beautiful and joyful to chat to
you.
you, my darling. Before we wrap up, obviously I'm going to share all your, you know, links and all that malarkey on the show notes. But if you want to share with anyone listening, you know, anything you've got coming up, where you mainly hang out, it's quite helpful for them to hear. Yeah, what anything you would love to share, my darling.
Thank you. So I guess social media wise, I'm mostly on working my way back onto Instagram. I've been really, really absent from social media over the last couple of years, really not enjoyed a relationship with social media, but I am beginning to work my way back onto Instagram, so I can be found a little bit there at the moment. There's also my website that you can see what I'm doing on my website. Um, Essentially, at the moment, my work, what I'm doing right now, which is bringing me the most joy and making me most excited, is quite a lot of in-person stuff. So anybody who's listening who's in West London, I have a monthly movement and mindfulness group for women. The second one is actually, no, this is going to be going out a bit later. So I've got one in March, got one in April, got two in June, the 1st of June and the 29th of June. That's in this most incredibly beautiful space that I'm now using for my kids' sessions and my women's sessions. I've got groups going on for kids on Wednesday afternoons in West London. And in September, that might increase to a Thursday afternoon for a splitting of the age groups for different kids. I've got online work, so I'm working with private clients online as well. If anybody's interested in me supporting their family in any way with their well-being, me supporting the young people in their family and the parents in the family, get in touch with me. I'm gonna also give you a link for how people can just book a call with me. Although actually that's probably on my link tree. So you've got a link for my link tree. There's some free resources on there for families as well. I also offer one-off stuff for schools as well around well-being. So yeah, there's lots of different ways to work with me, either in West London or online.
Amazing. Oh, and I've seen that space where you're hosting your in-person sessions, and it is absolutely gorgeous,
I
isn't it?
mean, it's just so special. I have done my fair share of work in drafty school halls over
Yeah.
the last 30 years. And this space is just incredible. It's this circular room with this incredible wooden ceiling, like windows out onto the garden, beautiful lighting. I mean, it's just so special.
Yeah.
And yeah, really excited about doing more and more stuff there. So yeah.
Oh, so please, if you're local, check it out because it is an amazing space. And if you're not local and you're interested in one-to-one stuff, then get in touch. Anything that we've covered today, myself or Becky, our DMs are open. So, and as you can see, we do love a chat. So, so so feel
We
free. Like
do.
there's like, all questions, always welcome. I think conversations like this are important because it gets us curious and it gets us willing to maybe try and look at things a little bit differently. So anything that's come up, if you want to explore further, then please do drop either of us a DM. So, Becky, my darling, thank you once again. It's been gorgeous. I have absolutely loved it. And thank you so much, everyone, for listening. And until next time, just look after yourself, my darlings. Lots of love.